All right, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Checking to see if I'm coming through. Am I coming through? Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Can't tell if I'm live or not. So, give me a hot second here. Just waiting for this thing to click through so I can confirm I'm up and running, and then we'll get up and running together. So, there we go. Okay, great. So, there we go. Okay, great. So, sounds like my volume's coming through okay, and let's not mute that. All right, cool. So, hey, my name's Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them then I publish them online. So, I've been focusing my attention on, what's my sizing here for this? Like that. There we go. All right, so yeah, we're currently creating an adventure for Eberron called Crystals of Mabar for characters level 7 and 8. We've been streaming this for a while now, so we're up to episode 227 of creating all the assets. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notification. Here's a slew of books I've created previously. If you like the stuff that I do, check these out. They all have a lot of previews. Big shout out to the Eberron community for being favorable towards my artwork. A lot of stuff since this weekend. I got to catch up with that. And then I'm on the X Twitter platform at Phil Kearney. If you're there, you can you can follow me there if you want to get notifications. Again, like, subscribe, bell icon, blah. So cool. Here's a book cover we created back around episode 40. You can check that out on the way back. Right now, we are creating creature tokens or NPC tokens for significant NPCs that are in the adventure. So I'm going to just get back at it here. Where is... I guess a weird delay on my machinery. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Yeah. So there's mercenaries that are in the that are supporting the necromancers that are activating that are performing the ritual with the artifact to create an artificial manifest zone to the plane of Mabar and to sustain it perpetually so that the planar energies will terraform the Carnwood where this ritual is taking place so that the environment of Mabar becomes easily accessible with low risk to those that may traverse its space in effort to gather materials that like soil, different exotic plants that can be created that can be converted into alchemical or spell components. So that's the big play here, is they're creating an artificial manifest zone to the plane of Mabar, which is the plane of undeath, darkness, and things that go bump in the dark, so that they can harvest these exotic plants and soils to basically sell stuff to necromancers. So it's a pretty ingenuitive approach to post-war capitalism. So good luck to them in their effort to doing. Oh wait, they've already double-crossed their sponsors, the 12, and now it's on the radar of the Silver Flame as a new source of evil that wasn't previously noticed. So that just blipped onto the spiritual radar that they want to go clean up. And what you know, what the gatekeepers are pissed that an unscheduled manifest zone is taking place in Karnath, so they know it's unnatural. So they're going to send a hit squad out to basically eliminate whoever it is that's producing this manifest zone, so that no one else gets a good idea that messing around with the planes like that is something that won't go unpunished. So that's some of the stuff that's on the agenda for different factions that could potentially sponsor your character. Like, yeah, we need like the Silver Flame and the Gatekeepers are like, yeah, we need you to murder these people. Get after that. And if the 12 hires you, like, yeah, we need you to go take control of that facility so that we can send in new people to make this thing work, because whomever it is that we contracted with to do this thing is double crossing us. So we need to, do supervillain stuff to them. If Ader Academy is your host, then they're like, yeah, somebody stole this artifact called the Eye of Mabar, and it's we know it's off in that direction with some divination spells, but wouldn't you know it, the manifest zone is messing with our divination ability, So we need you to go in and reclaim that artifact for us. And if you can collect evidence about who is doing it so we can prosecute, that would be great. And then you have the sheriff, the county sheriff, that's way too busy to deal with just random complaints about scary stuff in the Carnwoods. Like, you shouldn't be anywhere near the Carnwood anyway. So whatever's happening there is your problem. But it's so insistent. All right, fine. I'm going to hire on some deputies and have them go take a look. Here's some badges. You have the authority to get done whatever needs to get done. I don't want to hear any complaints. And they send you off to go deal with it, and then you find out, like, you don't know anything going in. So you just kind of find out by interviewing the locals that are in upcoming, like, these pop-up communities after the last war ends. A bunch of displaced soldiers are just taking farmland, and the easiest place, the safest place, ironically, for them to do so is along the Carnwood Forest line. But the county sheriff is off in southeast Karnath to fight Talenta halflings that over the past 500 years have gotten really comfortable with crossing Karnath borders to do hunting. And now that Karnath is changing swords to plowshares, there's a bunch there's a large wave of immigrant, or rather veterans that want to start a home and a farmland and families, etc. And the southeast is the most obvious terrain that's available to the Karnath, but there's all of these halflings. So that has to be dealt with, which is a really fun sort of Wild West sort of approach to dealing with the halflings basically overtaking what is essentially the Great Plains of Karnath. So there's some historic value there that people can pluck if they're into historic gaming and with a fantasy bend. You can go in that direction, but that's beyond the scope of this actual adventure. It's just that's why no one else is available to take care of this problem, even though they might be a higher level. A, the authorities don't really know what's going on, and B, there's so many displaced soldiers from both Karnath as well as like Sire refugees and other nations that have gotten basically stranded on this side of the line. As long as they're keeping their identity low and even less trouble, Karnath is fine with you making a farm. We need population growth. So farming is going to help flood the market with cheap food that makes it easier for people to grow families. Plus, the very act of farming in the first place kind of leans towards having a large family, so they're going to be able to restock their citizenship faster if they have a bend towards manual labor in the farms. So it all kind of curves together in a post-war economic turn for Karnath that we get to basically use as our frame of adventuring. So geopolitics being built into a fantasy state that allows us to have fantastical adventures, all based on the very smart, I won't go so far as to say smart, but very grounded in reality. Like, these are things that once the team knows what's going on, it's very grounded in how life really works. So having the fantasy bend to the goings on just kind of helps lean into the fantasy setting, but the logic of like what people do and why they do it is built into the adventure. So it's going to be easy to just kind of, it just kind of works. Like, it's not an outrageous premise for the adventure. It's all very logical geopolitical business. And like, this is the natural result of stuff that happens when you have necromancers that now no longer have any need to be in the military, so they're veterans, they're let go, and in many cases, especially in the case of Emerald Claw, are actively shunned as we don't need your crazy necromancy anymore. Now that we're in peacetime, we're going to we're going to raise the sovereign host and cast aside the blood of Vol. That's going to make for some pretty bitter domestic terrorism. And this is a good example of that. Creating a manifest zone to the plane of undeath simply to create profit is highly questionable values. But these are the kind of people that you get running loose in your nation when you promote necromancy as a solution to your global conflicts. So fun stuff there. A lot of really neat geopolitical and real world reflection that can be had in a campaign like that. So this will be published on the DMsGuild. Strongly recommend you check it out if you're into that stuff. Obviously, I'm going to recommend you check it out because I'm making it. I would love for you to check it out when it's done. It has a lot of replayability because you can take it from different angles, different points of entry. You can have one team going as a one-shot, specifically if they get killed, then send in another team to go rescue them. So there's stacking, there's Dominion play. If you can take over this facility, you can use it as a base of operation to expand peace efforts in the region as deputies of the sheriff that can lean into additional adventures for you to perform. So a lot of really cool opportunities there. And I know as paid dungeon mastering is on the rise, having something that has replayability that the dungeon master can see from various perspectives keeps it entertaining for them, and they would be rewarded for gaining system mastery over this adventure scenario. So that's some of the ideas that are going on there. Let's get this here, get this to here. So this is the mercenary captain that's been hired by the necromancers to try to police the region to keep locals away. Meanwhile, the Emerald Claw are kidnapping people from local these little pop-up farming communities to feed into the ritual. So you have plausible deniability of involvement by having these mercenaries specifically not involved in the dirty work that the Emerald Claw soldiers are more than happy to perform. So you have this layer of deniability while also pursuing evil cult zealot stuff. So again, complexity and realistic war crime type activity happening here. Having the Emerald Claw sacrificing undocumented farm labor is an interesting geopolitical topic to approach inside of a post-war D&D campaign. You know, for people that care about geopolitics and want to be able to frame the global events or the national events around like logical progression of like what would people do, actions and reactions. This is a good flow to follow if you're interested in that sort of stuff. Turn that like that. This mercenary group is called the Red Wolves, so they have this insignia of a howling wolf. They were in the Karnath military. They were both scouts as well as military police. They basically controlled areas, and which is the gig that they're performing right now. So they were a military officer would be aware of what that organization was, and most of them had been dispersed when the war ended. They weren't necessary anymore, so a lot of them were retired. Hence the formation of a military mercenary group that is composed of people from that battalion. Which is absolutely to their advantage because they are a recognized military group that is still technically active in the Karnath military. So if you're running around with Red Wolf badges or insignia, and anyone knows Karnath military will recognize, yeah, this is an active military group. So whatever it is that they're doing here can be played off as being official. And they're intentionally using that gray area that there's a lot of veterans that are Red Wolves that are still wearing the armor and insignias of their company. It kind of blurs the line. It's like, is this a military? Is this a paramilitary? Or is this a rogue mercenary operation? And the people that are being picked on by the Emerald Claw and kidnapped are, undocumented farms. They're intentionally staying off of the grid, growing up, creating these communities outside of normal Karnath jurisdiction or basically awareness. They're not reporting that they're doing this. Karnath government isn't asking about it. It's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell. You can go ahead and farm here. We know ultimately the only place you're going to sell your grain to is Karnath storehouses. So you're going to be helping our end goal of increasing population, whether you are documented or not. So these entire communities are sprouting up with no documentation, which means they can be preyed upon by bandits. And that's kind of what we're seeing happening here. Red Wolves don't want to do any banditing activity. It's dishonorable. It would potentially damage their reputation. But again, the Emerald Claw can use that as cover for accountability, so that they can do their dark deeds of kidnapping people without necessarily having to report that's what's happening. It's unknown what's happening. In fact, if any villagers come poking their nose around to find out what's going on, or hey, do you know about anybody missing? The Red Wolves can flat out say, yeah, we have no idea. We've been actively pushing people away from this area, but they're becoming aware that the Emerald Claw is in fact kidnapping people. They know where they're being kept, but again, they're having a professional crisis, and that if they walk away from this gig, they're basically shutting their mercenaries guild down and potentially making enemies of the Emerald Claw, which is a really fucking bad idea. But at the same time, what the Emerald Claw is doing is just not. It's despicable, and many of the soldiers are sickened by the fact that they're kidnapping undocumented farmers for these sacrifices. So they're having a crisis of faith as well. And if the team picks up on this, and there's opportunities in the adventure that they can overhear conversations that the soldiers are having, so they can start gathering pieces of this geopolitical complexity over the course of the adventure if they're interested in social engagement. Geopolitics is an excellent arena to engage in social encounters where you're not necessarily drawing weapons but gathering information, so that your characters can make a more informed decision and potentially influence them. And the reward of diving into that pillar of play is you can convince the Emerald Claw, or the Red Wolves, to help you against the Emerald Claw, and you can get intel from them. So there's a lot of advantage that can be gained by investing playtime in those conversations with the Red Wolf soldiers and making allies out of them. And if this is part of an ongoing campaign, not just a one shot, and your team is into it, again, you can use the dungeons that are in this place as a base of operations to build your own dominion. And the Red Wolves need to repair their reputation. What better way to do that than to hire on with deputies that are working for the government, so that they can get back into a paramilitary relationship as being guardians of the Carnwood, which would lean into their scouting and MP military police skills. So they would become the de facto peacekeepers for these undocumented communities, farming communities that are cropping up. So again, that helps fold into the geopolitics of the time to build a more grounded campaign for you to hinge more fantastical events around. If that makes sense. Some people don't want that level of depth in their game, in which case, great, it's just a zombie smash. Go ahead and just go in there and club a bunch of zombies. And if you want to make enemies out of the red wolves, they're more than happy to fight you. If you come in guns blazing, they'll fight back, so you get more battles on hand. But again, you can play it differently and potentially more intelligently by observing and assessing what's happening and trying to figure out what dynamics are actually at play in the adventure for the team to take advantage of, you know, social interaction if they want to. Help define who their characters' values are. What kind of decisions do they make when the goals of their patron might be contrary to innocent lives, for instance. Or that could help just cement in the type of group that you're playing with. Out like that. Let's put some ring mail in here underneath this half plate. So I stream 10 times a week, Monday through Friday in the mornings, just like this. I also have a game development stream and DM notes upkeeping that I have on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays at lunch, including today. And then I have an art stream for Spelljammer content on Mondays and Thursday nights, including tonight. So at lunch today, which will be in about 7 o'clock here in Seattle, about 6 hours from now, we'll be on, and we had our first Martial Powers playtest at level 3 over the weekend, and I'm pretty happy with how it went. We found some interesting, we made some observations about initial in the system, so I've already made updates to it, so I'm going to go and look at the revisions that we made so everyone can see how that's coming along, and some first blush thoughts about it, as well as a DM update on what the team did and where I anticipate things going next. So you can stay tuned for that. It's about an hour at lunchtime every day, and that'll be in about 6 hours from now, which is 1 o'clock Pacific time. I'm here in Seattle, so you guys can check all that shit out. I'd love to have you. And then tonight, we're working on mega ships. 500 foot. 500 feet is the largest size that a single Spelljammer helm is able to empower for wild space flight. So we are building massive size ships that are 500 feet in scale, is the largest size that a single Spelljamming helm can pilot. So we're converting from Light of Xeraxis. We're converting Vokath's base in the third part of Light of Xeraxis in Doom Space. There is a Mercane with a base, and the base happens to fit within a 500-foot space. So we can make it a transforming station from a space base into a mechanized crab that can do Spelljammer stuff and be part of your a fleet battle in Doom Space against the Xeraxian elves. Give the team an opportunity to utilize fleet mechanics with ships before taking on the actual Xeraxian armada in full. There's only a dozen star mods that the team will face off against Vokath and all of the Doom Space warlords. but you can rally them together to fight off the Zyraxian elves, and it gives the players an opportunity to demonstrate their characters as commanders and heroes for the NPCs to rally behind to make the rest of the adventure work. This kind of pans out. Do like that. Got to give them bend room, and the chainmail acts as a buffer for you to be able to have these plates have gaps. And the chainmail's I mean, having gaps in your armor is, there's old sayings about that, but it's necessary for mobility. Like targeting the joints and the gaps in armor is a tried and true tactic against armored soldiers in medieval combat. I'm more familiar with the Japanese side of it, but I know it exists, and I'm just not as familiar with English versus Japanese armor. Feels pretty good. I was listening to Bjork this morning. I'm a big Bjork fan. Bjork Debut is an excellent album. If you haven't heard it, it is just really, really good melody. Bjork is an amazing artist anyway. Another gap here. Buildings on fire. Boom. Nah, that's a bad idea. Let's take that back. Almost done with this sketch. So we sketch and then we clean up, and then we do all the sketches for all the tokens in the bundle, and then we do cleanup, and then we do color. So right now we're on the sketch side of things, and we'll be doing cleanup here pretty soon. Make this a bit bigger. Let's flip this. Flip it for real. See, that's off a bit. Everyone's got badges and insignias. Everyone feels important. Transform. Let's do this. Free transform. Make that bigger. Tilt it a bit. Do like that. There we go. Very good. Bring his head down a bit. Let's get it in there. That feels pretty good. I think I'm pretty good with this. Free transform. Let's flip it again. Yeah. Captain Carl. There you go, folks. Leader of the Red Wolves. Hit save there. Oof. Karen needs some work. Let's get back to work with her. We're going to Karen the Enchantress. She is second in command of the Emerald Claw, and she's a bitch. She is Solzu is the leader. And but he is trapped inside of the ritual. If he tries to leave, it kills him. If he stays, it's killing him. So the only way for him to get out is to last long enough for the ritual to complete. But if he does that, then he will have proven to be master of the manifest zone, and he'll have command and leverage over the region, which Karen does not want. Karen wants the area for herself. Solzu is reliant on Karen to feed him kidnapped villagers to sacrifice to the ritual so he doesn't have to die. Karen knows this. Karen is being very lazy on feeding him hit dice, so Solzu is dying. But he can't get out of it. He's stuck in there. Karen knows it. She's hoping that she can have him stay alive long enough to get far enough through the ritual. They're trying to permanize the manifest zone, so they don't have to worry about devoting resources and sustaining it anymore, and they can just focus on extracting value from the terraformed environment. So she fully intends Solzu to not survive this experience and to take it over. She knew this really early going in, but Solzu was so egotistical that she quickly found that he's got some megalomania going on, which is going to be self-destructive, ultimately going to get him killed. And she's okay with it. She's like, this guy's going to self-destruct at some point. I may as well tag along to make sure he's off the board and take claim to all the upshot of having done all this work, so that she can become the master. And so that's her plan, is to let Solzu die. Solzu isn't actually somebody that people are that the players are going to be able to really interact with, because by the time they get to the actual ritual nexus, he's so far gone that he's basically dead. And so Karen is who the team's going to have to deal with initially anyway. So that works out well for continuity of of importance, she has no mercy, and she and Solzu's attitude towards the villagers is just self-motivated. It's sociopathic evil. So, psychopathic, I would say. They aren't looking at the consequences. Well, Solzu's definitely not looking at long-term consequences. He shut down the teleportation circle that was the point of access and connection between them and their patrons, the 12. The hidden organization of archmages that rule from the shadows with their magics. And he thought that he was powerful enough to double-cross them. Yeah, Karen is aware of the relationship, and that's how they got funding. Her hope, and she knows there's a risk, her hope is that she can establish control and re-establish communication with the 12 before they come looking for people. And if she can re-establish that connection and simplify things, she can just explain to them, look, this guy got bent, but I stabilized it. I've got control here. Don't worry about us. Just let us keep working the operation, and we will be productive for you. That's her hope. But if she tries to contact them before the ritual is completed, she knows she's just going to get replaced by a more loyal operative. And then she's going to get cut out of the circle, and she's going to get branded as a backstabbing betrayer. So there's no upshot for her to report this thing early. So she is desperate to have the, well, not desperate, but she's attempting to calculate if they can complete the ritual before a wet works cleanup crew comes through to sweep them out and take claim of the place themselves. Again, she knows what's going to happen. They're all going to get killed. Her goal is to reestablish order before it's necessary. So that's what she's got going on. She's an enchantress, so you're gonna have to deal with her magics. And when the team gets there, Solzu is still in process, so she still has all of her freedom and mobility to be able to do whatever it is, to fight back against the team when they arrive. But if the team sequences it right, they can get rid of all of her backup and minions. So the only thing that's left is her, the number 3, the lieutenant, the houndsman, and he is basically a beastmaster with a pack of shadow mastiffs. So if they can reduce their resistance to whatever undead Karen can summon, Karen herself, the houndsman, and his shadow mastiffs. If the team can deal with all of those, they can either pick them apart slowly, or if they have to face them all at once, either way, that's the last opposition that basically stands between the team succeeding the adventure and, yeah, there you go. That's the only thing that stops the team from, once the team gets through Karen, they're basically going to succeed. There's a little bit of a twist at the end, because the ritual turns against Solzu, and its actual purpose, the Eye of Mabar, the artifact that's used to spawn the Manifest Zone, its true purpose is to birth a new Yugoloth. Ideally, it's going to be an Ultraloth, like a CR 14 Yugoloth Demodand. Basically, it's a high level demon, and so if the ritual is successful, there will be a permanized Manifest Zone. There will be a new Ultraloth demon. And the demon will take control will take domain over that Manifest Zone itself, and then summon more troops from the from Mabar to invade the Karnwood and start taking over the world. Like that's their big plan. So they're attempting to trick stupid necromancers into performing this ritual, knowing that whoever's performing the ritual will be killed, sacrificed to the artifact, to then be transformed and become an Ultraloth. So if the ritual is disrupted before it's completed, there could be enough energy for some sort of a Yugoloth to be created, but unless the ritual completes, it won't be an Ultraloth. So it could be something like an Arcanoloth, or even a Mesoloth, like one of the lowest form is like this little like 4-legged dog thing. That's like CR6. It's still dangerous as hell, but it's not a CR14 Ultraloth. So the faster the team disables the ritual, the lower CR, the Yugoloth that's created, they have to deal with. And the manifest zone will collapse if they can end it early. That is to say, the DM can decide how powerful of a boss fight CR, if at all. The DM could just decide that the ritual bails and that there is no need for a final battle with a Yugoloth. But if the team's been cakewalking the adventure, then this is an opportunity to have one last memorable battle for the characters to feel that they've earned what they're going to get. Which, well, potentially is having to fight a Wetworks team from the 12. So it depends on what your plot is, like who your patrons are, whoever hired you to be on this adventure. That's going to determine the kind of opposition that, like, what the team ultimately might have to face. Hey, Dennis. This is well, I've been talking about Karen. This is going to end up being an enchantress named Karen. She's well, if you catch the last 5 minutes, I was basically talking about how she's second in command, and her plan is to basically mutiny and take command of the organization. The Emerald Claw cell that she's a part of. Emerald Claw is a necromancy themed cult of the blood of Vol in Eberron. So she's climbing the ranks through backstabbing and skullduggery. Just got on. Yeah, right on. Well, check out the replay a little bit, because I've been talking a lot about the history of like all the geopolitics here and the different type of approach that players can take, whether they want to be more involved in social pillar encounters. There's a lot of geopolitical stuff going on inside the adventure that leans into the last war ending. So there's a lot of really fun little Nation of Karrnath nuances. I'd reiterate the entire thing, but it's been about an hour-long rant. So check it out if you're interested. But I'm a big fan of Dominion style play. So I'm building this facility specifically with the opportunity for the team to if you're part of a longer term campaign, to specifically take control of it as a base of op. I mean, your character's a 7th, 8th level. By the time you finish this, you should be 9th level, which in the old BECME, BX, OSR box sets, 9th level was basically when you wanted to have a castle and start taking command of a region. And this adventure provides that framework for you right away. You basically become stewards of the Karrnwood and the eastern expanse of Karrnath into the Great Plains. Again, the sheriff, that one of the plot hooks is you're hired by a sheriff. You're deputized to go answer calls for help from all these undocumented farming villages that are cropping up along the tree line of the Karrnwood. So Karrnwood's famous for its undead spirits and it being haunted, but it's an area where the government does not care. Like if you want to set up shop there, it's your own risk. Big surprise, undocumented communities are now calling for help because weird things are happening. Haunty type stuff is happening. So they're like, help us, and the Karrn government is like, we knew this was going to happen. So the sheriff that oversees the entire eastern grasslands of Karrnath is basically, that's on his plate to deal with. So he's like, I'm going to just deputize some competent characters. That's your group. You're deputized. Here's your badge. You now have the authority to ask any questions you want. Go anywhere you want. You've got government authority to be there. That sets the team on a path of being able to push their weight around inside the adventure to demand answers and to threaten people with further law enforcement efforts, like, we're going to come and investigate this place or blah blah blah, whatever whatever bluffs or intimidations that the team wants to enact during the adventure is totally justified. But it's all under the premise of people are disappearing and we don't know why. If something feels weird, we need help. So you're going in, investigating without knowing anything about the adventure at all, like anything that's going on in the Carnwood. You're like, yeah, people are missing. What's going on there? And then they start explaining it to you, and then you run across undead, and you're like, there's a problem. Okay, we have to take this seriously. And now the team has a base of operation. The closest village that called for help can become a base of operations for taking long rests in safety. Undead can occasionally attack the village, so the team can have night adventures, have night encounters as well as day encounters. They can take horses right off into the Carnwood, find the manifest zone, start interacting with the mercenaries that are in there, while also trying to dodge or deal with the Emerald Claw cult zealots that are kidnapping people. I got her legs. Now I have her posture relatively figured out. I can accessorize a bit. But yeah, she's basically just hanging out, playing cards, talking shit. She has the lieutenant friend zoned pretty hard. The houndsman crushes on her heavy, so she can get him to do stuff for her. She's got a pretty posh, easy go. She's just waiting for Solzu to die so she can take control of the ritual. She's just kind of kicking back, hoping everything pans out. I need to make this a little bit smaller. Let's go with perspective here to shrink that down a bit. And then we can take this and shrink this a bit too with more perspective. Like that. Touch. Maybe in another environment she'd have more revealing clothing, but she's just in casual affair, so she's just gonna go with some comfortable smock, long skirt, loose fitting clothing, something that's comfortable that she can relax in. Let's go like that. What's up? What up? Hey, Andy. It's good to see you, my guy. Andy Healy is the co-writer for this adventure. He's been working on it with me since the start to build this thing out. This has been a really, really fun adventure, Andy. I've really been enjoying it. I'm thinking by the end of the month. Yes, the 22nd. Yeah, I got about a week. I'm thinking within the next week I'll have the first part, the first 13 rooms of Act 3 resolved. That way we can, and then Stuart should be back available for us at the beginning of May. Then we can suss through the finale, and and then I'll be able to go back through, make sure all 3 of the acts are working together, and assuming everything is panning out properly, I can start moving into page layouts. So between, and if everything goes well, I'm hoping that means that the text is going to be resolved by maybe mid-June, and at that point we'll be full into layouts, breaking up the maps into imagery, and moving into full book production. So that's yeah, it looks like we're making some progress here now, man. I'm really happy. I'm glad to hear it, man. This has been a particularly cool project. So it's the first adventure that I've created. Andy's done a number of adventures, so he's the veteran in this affair. But I think it's a really strong adventure that we've put together here, and I'm really excited. And I hope people enjoy it. Take that and nope. Do that. Give it a tilt. Bring those arms in a bit. What is it? 7. Jesus, it's 7:30 already. Time to start another adventure. Not sure. I do want to do the Frozen Heart, the Arctic Circle temple adventure that I had created a while ago, but I'm considering building that out. But I've got a lot of other stuff that I need to do. I want to do more Spelljammer stuff. I've got the martial power system that's in playtest right now. I've got the in-command mass combat system that I want to build out, and I might put that on Creative Commons. With 2024 New Player's Handbook coming out, I need to revisit and rebuild the color mana system. So if I'm going to do another adventure, it probably isn't gonna be. It'll probably be Creative Commons. God willing, I'll be able to kickstart it and get people interested in that. But I'm thinking I probably won't do more adventure stuff until probably 2026. But the Rubble Belt hex crawl system that we've been building is working pretty well. I'll be talking about that more today at my design lunch stream. This feels off. Go like that. I gotta say, adventures are. I would say I've seen a lot of adventures, and it's easy to spit out like a lair or a very brief scenario. I've done a number of lairs. I've done a number of like one-shot adventure scenarios, but actually fleshing out a full adventure like this, it's a pretty heavy lift. It's a lot of different skills kind of converging into the same game product space, and I guess we'll have to see, you know, if it gets traction, and if it does well, that'll determine how soon I come back and do more. But Eberron the Spelljammer book that I created continues to sell almost every day, at least a few copies. So there's a lot of momentum and a lot of interest in Spelljammer. So I might just decide to stick with that after this publishes, and just milk out as much Spelljammer content as I can before I burn out on it, and then move on to the next thing. Yeah, it's starting to look right. So we can drop this down a bit more and take this, and we're going to drop that down as well. And then we're going to redo it. Just going to go with a skeletal frame here real quick, so I want to reconsider how our shoulders and arms are working. Kitsune. But yeah, Eberron's is my when I'm running campaigns in the Prime Material, it's usually on Eberron, and it has been consistently for decades. It's just such a great setting. There's so much fun stuff you can do with it. I gotta say, I ran Cypher in the Eberron setting for a while, and that was super fun. Like the premise of like Numenera, of like in the Cypher system of like having disposable magic items of weird tech. There's a lot about Eberron that leans into that flavor that can really be leaned into as a DM. And if you go with more of a mage tech, like magic punk sort of feeling for Eberron in general, you can have like Warforged be a lot more cybernetic by nature than what they might otherwise be assumed. I already like to pose better here. Hands in a bit. "15 minutes left." I was tempted to give her like a Bob's soccer mom sort of cut, but I think I'm feeling these locks. I'm feeling this like face cover sort of mere 2B sort of look. Plus, I just like draping hair. It's fun. Getting there. Down a little bit. Shrink this down a touch. The hand is too big now. So if we are able to finish the document mid-June, and if we're looking at like a probably a 98 to 100, like let's just round it off to like maybe a 100-page count. Most of the illustration, like most of the tokens and the maps that we've already built are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as like what art is going to be necessary. And then we'll be able to do spot art. I'm anticipating maybe 20 pieces of spot art throughout the document beyond the tokens that we already have. So we'll see if that's accurate or not. But if it is, then I guess it's possible we could have this done by maybe published in October. I think that's reasonable, which probably means November. If it sounds reasonable to me, add another month at least. We learned that lesson with the Spelljammer book that we were building. But we also have a lot more of the assets already built out, and we also know, like from building the Light of Xerax's conversion guide, we know that the tokens and the maps do a lot of lifting for art assets that are necessary. Like just simply not just packing in as much information per page means there's not much need for gap filling inside of the actual document. I'll get that arm to there. That's looking pretty good. I like this hippy dippy sort of thing you got going on with her. Yeah, she's who's really calling the shots right now. Solzu, he did all the work up front, and then he got himself trapped inside the ritual. So she's pretty much taking control at this point, and boy, she really doesn't give a crap about anybody. Like, not at all. Like, real psychopathic shit here. There you go. Skirt is far less important, so I can zoom in a touch and work the angles there a little bit. What's up, my guy? Hey, Zona, how you doing, man? I've got, how much time do I got left? I got about maybe 5 minutes left. So I think we'll probably be happy with her. So we're working on the last of the sketches. I think that's probably a good enough sketch for her. I like how the garments are flowing. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Enchantress in the house, yo. Where's your rip? Let's go back to Soul Zoo. I think I want to drop all this down and go after this again in a different way. I like that face, but I don't want to get bound to it. This guy is fucked. This guy is just so fucking dead. He's bitten off way more he can chew with this ritual, and there's no way he's getting out of it alive. Like, there isn't even really any dialogue with the players. Like, if the players start messing with him, he's going to lose his concentration, and then the ritual is going to eat him. If the players don't mess around with him and leave him be, he'll also get eaten by the ritual. It just depends on when does the team mess around with him, when does the ritual fail, or does if the ritual completes, then they have a new Yugoloth they have to deal with. If they succeed in disrupting the ritual, they'll have to have gotten through all of the Emerald Claw, as well as any mob ads that are coming in from the Manifest Zone, like from the depths of Mabar, basically answering the call of the Eye of Mabar to defend it from its plans being, because the Eye of Mabar, the artifact that Soul Zoo is basically using here to perform the ritual, it has its own intelligence. It's an artifact. All artifacts have intelligence. This one's goal is to turn this eyepiece thing, this eye-looking thing. It will eventually become the face or the eye of whatever Yugoloth gets created when this ritual falls apart. The faster the team can make the ritual crumble, the lower CR the Yugoloth that's created from the spilled out energy. If the team completely fails to stop it, it'll be an Ultraloth, which is like a CR 14 creature, and it'll basically stabilize the Manifest Zone, and now the team is going to have to figure out how to kill like an 8th level team, figure out how to kill a 14th level Yugoloth. It's just going to shred them. But if they can stop the ritual early, it could be something as low as like what is it? A Mesoloth is like a CR4 creature, I think. That would be relatively easy for an 8th level team to tear apart. So it just depends. Honestly, if you're from a DM's perspective, however tough, whatever level of a CR they think that the team can take on, is basically the timeline of completion. Like, if the team is beat up, they can only handle like a CR6. Then let's make a Cryoloth. The Icy type, I think, is a CR6. So, like, if they can only handle a CR6 right now, then the ritual completes, and that's what gets created. If the team is ultra strong and has just been cakewalking the place, then maybe spank them with an Arcanoloth, like a CR11 creature. They'll probably be able to pull it out. So the DM has the ability to pull levers here as well to change the scale of challenge for the team based on how well they've been performing up to this point. And they could be coming into this fight after a long rest. If it's part of an ongoing campaign, and they make use of their resources right, and they understand their environment, and they work their timing, they could be coming into the final battle with basically full resources available. In which case, you're going to want to up the CR so that they have a higher level threat. But if you're running it as part of a longer form campaign, the DM's going to have a much better idea, like what kind of challenges can the team take on regularly to be able to weave this into something that's a little bit more suitable. So I'll be here. I'm going to be working on martial powers some more at lunch today, and that's going to be in about, what, oh boy, it's 7:52 here in Seattle. I got to bounce here in a minute. In about 5 hours, maybe a little bit more, I'll be back to work on martial powers. Our first playtest was on Saturday. There were some really great insights that were gleaned from that playtest. I'm looking forward to the next one this upcoming Saturday as well. So I'll go over some of the changes that we're making, as well as updating on where they're at in the adventure and what's next. When we come back tomorrow morning, we'll finish up this token here. We'll finish up the line art for this, and then we'll go through and we'll do cleanup, so they're all quality line art. Tonight, in about 11 hours or so from now, we'll be working on Spelljammer some more, making the 500-foot Mega Crab Vocath's base as a 500-foot Spelljammer ship, as basically like a colossal size home base thing. So check that stuff out. And right on, guys. Thanks a lot for sticking around. And yeah, anyone that's out there, like, subscribe, bell icon. Check out some of the books that I have down in the description down below if you want to see some of the work that I've built previously. And I'll be back in a while. So I'll catch you guys then. Thanks a lot.